How's it going, guys? Welcome to this episode of Technically Short. My name is Thomas Edward Carney. That is the TEC in the beginning of Technically Short. If you would like to leave a comment, leave a 5-star review, or share us out on your social medias, that would be greatly appreciated. And I just want to say real quick, pretty early in the episode, I say that the book Carry a Big Stick is written by Theodore Roosevelt, and that is wrong. I had to fact check myself. It was actually written by George Grant. So, when you hear that, don't fact check me, 'cause I already did it. All right, see you in the episode. All right, guys, let's dive right in. So, today we're going to be talking about reading. I know, sounds exciting. Just like the last episode on finances. I know, we're doing so many fun things here today, or this week, or this month, or whatever you want to say. Let's get into it, though. Why am I talking about reading? Okay, you might already clicked off. Don't do that. Come back. Come back if you... I don't know how that works, but come back. Okay, let's dive in. Let's keep going. The name of this episode is How to Grow All the Time. And then it's like, read! You know, that's the name of the episode. You already read it a few times, hopefully. And this is something that has been instantiated in me from a very young age. And so, like, this episode, we're gonna go through a couple reasons why I love to read. We're going to go through the background behind that, and then really get into what that background, the seeds that were planted really grew into, and it really grew into my love of growth. But let's dive into the background a little bit. Why do I love to read? So this is kind of funny, actually, because I wrote down like what my dad did. When I was a kid, my dad actually paid myself and my older sister to read books. Well, he actually paid us to write the essays, 1-page essays for books. He would give us about, I believe, $10 for certain books, $20 for others. And we were like, yeah, for sure. Like, of course, we're going to do that because $10 felt like $1,000 when you're like, I don't know, 10. So I feel like I'm not joking. I'm pretty sure I was that young. And I'd be reading books by Zig Ziglar, Teddy Roosevelt, like Carry a Big Stick. Like, I believe that's from Teddy Roosevelt. Don't quote me on that. You can don't quote me, fact check me. It was a book written by someone who was no longer alive. And I was listening. The reason I said it was funny was because I was listening, like, kind of prep myself a little bit more for this episode. I was listening to a couple videos of John Maxwell, and he was talking about why he reads. And wouldn't you know it, his dad did the same thing. His dad's older than my dad. His dad, died at 98 and a half years old. And I'm like, is that where my dad got it? Like, I was like making my dinner. I was like, man, it all makes sense now. Like, I know he went to a conference and that person probably heard it from someone else. I don't know if my dad heard it from John Maxwell, but like, it was like, whoa, we're full circle in like a day. But it was nuts. I never really asked my dad like why he had me do that. I mean, if I did, I don't remember. So, but what I believe he was doing was planting a seed, wanting us to gain wisdom from these books, from books that he read himself. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think that part worked. I don't know if that part worked that well. I'm gonna be 100% honest. I don't think I understood I didn't really understand what I was reading, and I didn't retain it too well because really what my focus was mainly on was getting the money and writing the essay. I mean, I did that, but it was. I'm thinking about that now. I don't think I remember anything from that Zig Ziglar book, but for all I know, there are seeds that were planted that are affecting me today that I don't even realize. But the thing that I know for a fact worked, that created my love of reading. I already kind of read. I remember like going into high school, like even before high school, I'd go to bed like reading an hour before bed, and then I'd wake up, and these would be fiction books. Like these would be books about fictional stories that I'd be reading. But I would read like an hour before bed, and then sometimes when I woke up on the weekend, I was like, man, I can't wait to wake up and read my book, and I would read for like 2 hours, like no joke. Just I would get up, I wouldn't grab my phone because I didn't have a phone when I was that young. Neither should any child. Anyway, I'm not a parent, so I get it. But I would wake up and just read for 2 hours. I would wake up, grab my book, and read. And like, I miss that. I don't do that anymore. I read, but I don't wake up and immediately start reading because I have like the routine that I want. Oh, actually, that's a lie. I wake up every morning and read my Bible. So I guess I do that, just not for 2 hours. Doing it every day for 2 hours would be kind of cool though. If I had that, if like I actually had that time to do every day, maybe that could be a goal. But the reason I'm bringing any of that up, like, I want to, like I read those books, and the books I was reading, some of my favorite books whenever I was, reading the fictional stories, it was things like Harry Potter, Charlie Bone. If you ever heard of Charlie Bone, the Charlie Bone series, kind of like Harry Potter, but with it's like Charlie Potter, kind of like Harry Potter and X-Men, like the school where like all the Xavier's school for gifted children and something like that. It's kind of like that, like Harry Potter and X-Men mixed into one. Like they had like it was cool. Like, I loved it, and I still love it. I have the whole series still on my bookshelf. And then Chaos Walking, which is something I found just randomly in the library. Like those are some of my favorite book series, and like it's great. Like all of that, like I said, planted a seed that really didn't take root till much later in life. Let's dive into this kind of part 2 of this episode is my love of growth. Like I love to grow. I used to say I love to learn, and I still do. I still say that, but like I love to learn. But why do I love to learn? Like I love to learn because I love to grow. And the best way I found to do that is by reading books. You might disagree with me. You might be like, Thomas, I'm not a reading person. I don't like to read books. I mean, you can do audiobooks. I don't believe you get the same quality of retention and things like that from just doing audiobooks, but you do get benefit from those. And I get that from like just from like a couple of little bits of research and things I've done, but we're not going to dive into that. But one of the excerpts, I have an excerpt right now from Mark Cole. He's John Maxwell's CEO for his leadership company. And this is from an article called All Great Leaders Have One Thing in Common. He says, personal development is fundamentally linked to reading. To improve oneself and those around them, one should read more. The question should not be if one should read, but what one should read. That's more of a paraphrase, just to be honest, but it is all that's true from that article. And I really like that last sentence. The question should not be if one should read, but what one should read. What are you like? It's what are you intentionally seeking out? What wisdom are you intentionally searching for? And I like one thing I can look back and like every time I want to learn something or focus, I was wanting to learn something or focus on a new topic, I would look for a book written by an author that was an expert on the subject. For instance, for time management, I read Redeeming Your Time by Jordan Rayner. For leadership, I read anything by John Maxwell. For starting an online business, Russell Brunson, all the way. Understanding how to think, understanding how people think, there we go, Aristotle. And then learning how to live well and learning how to think, the Bible. And the reason I say all these, because these are the most, I most likely will not meet any of these people in my lifetime. I definitely have the opportunity, but I do not have the same opportunity as other people to meet these people. But I have the same opportunity as everybody else has, and it's to read the books that they put out there to help others and to serve the communities that they serve. So like, the reason I say like I love to grow and they say that personal development is linked to reading is because I believe at least whenever you're reading these books, you're planting seeds in your own mind. And this is a little bit later in my notes, but I kind of flows in well to it. I thought this was really cool. I don't know if you ever thought about it, but there's, whenever you're planting seeds, like actual seeds for like a garden, there's a lot of plants, like even a lot of plants that where you have to put more than one seed into the plot. In my mind, I was thinking about how I was preparing for this episode. I eventually thought of like multiple seeds. Okay, wait, acorns. Okay, hear me out. Where's he going? No, acorns. Like you need multiple acorns to grow the mighty oak. This is a little something I made up with the help of AI, but I'm just going to read this little thing. Think of each book you read like a little acorn that's got the potential to grow into a big, strong oak tree inside your head. The more books or acorns you plant in your brain in your brain garden, this is funny, the better your chances of growing a whole forest of smarts. Or I would say, better your chances of growing a whole forest of wisdom. Just like with a real acorns, not every book is going to sprout into a tree, and that's okay. The important thing is to keep planting. Read everything you can get your hands on. Every book, whether it sprouts or not, is going to help you grow that oak tree of understanding inside your head. The one thing I want to pull out of that, it says read anything you get your hands on. With the one caveat is what it's was saying, going back to that excerpt from Mark Cole, is that it's not if you should read, it's what you should read. So it's to be very intentional about reading. And like, I know I'm kind of getting off of like why I love this is me saying I love to grow and diving into how books actually help you grow. I don't think that whenever I read Redeeming Your Time, I only read it once by Jordan Rayner. I know I didn't retain everything that he wrote, but there are things that stuck out, that planted the seeds that took root, that I still instantiate today. And I read that book like 2 years ago. And there are things I remember, that things I do. John Maxwell is going to keep reading his books because I want to be the best leader I can be. Those are just a few examples. I know you, listener, the person who is listening right now, I know you have something that you would like to know more about, and I know there's a book on it. I don't even need I don't need to know what you're thinking right now. I don't need to know what subject you want to know more about. I already know for a fact that there was a book out there about it, because multiple people have already been where you are and are where you want to be. And some of them just so happen to write it down. Like, isn't that cool? I don't know if this was a different episode, but it's definitely an episode that like I feel really passionate about. I don't just believe, I know that if people would dive into books more, then people would read more of these quality books written by these quality people who know what they're talking about. And how do you vet those people? You do your research. How do you know that they know what they're talking about? You vet them. You do your research. You don't just pick the first book that comes off that you see on the shelf, but you do try. You do read these books. Like I talked about in a previous episode about habits. Like, you make a habit of reading, so it becomes so instilled in you that it feels wrong not to do it. To tie up this episode, I just want to do a quick listener shout out from my episode "Living with Pain and Accomplishing Goals" on Spotify. Zach Sarah left a comment, and I want to start doing this as people leave comments every episode. Just read one of your guys' listener comments, because I really appreciate your support. He said, "Amazing episode, brother. I have trouble asking for help, and I try to figure out things on my own. But sometimes you have to realize that there are people that know more than you and can make it easier." And that is extremely true, Zach. So thank you for your comment, and really appreciate your support, man. Well, I appreciate you listening to this episode of the podcast. If you like this episode, give it a like. Give us 5 stars on Instagram, on Apple Podcasts. Give us whatever platform you're on. Give us, really love these actual listener comments that you can leave on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or even technically on YouTube if you want to. If you can do that, that'd be awesome. I love getting feedback. I love getting these any critiques, and I love the text that you guys send me whenever you listen to an episode and you really like it. I really do appreciate that. And actually, I got a text right before recording this episode, so yeah, I really appreciate that stuff. But all right, guys, I'll see you next time.